Alhamdulillah, wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah. Praise be to God. There is no God but one God, the absolute one, and He has no partners in His kingdom. MashaAllah, with the blessing of God. We are here to attend another Jummah prayer. This is a blessing of God that He has allowed us to be here, and then we need to be thankful to God. Anything that good happens to us is from God, and anything that bad happens to us is from us. So, what was the best thing happened last week, the night of destiny? Praise God for allowing us to observe it. It comes once a year, night of destiny, and what God says is it's more than 1,000 months. We cannot fathom the greatness of this night. More than 1,000. We cannot. Is more than. We don't even know how more. If you really if you really do math, it's multiply 1,000 by how many days in it's 30,000 days, and God is not saying to stay awake all day equal to 30,000 days. God only, if you divide the day into three sections, night, morning, and evening. So God is only asking one third of that pie, but multiplying it to 30,000, not nights, 30,000 complete days. I mean, that's another way to look at it. It's like times three. What if God would have told us to stay awake all day? I mean, then it will be more than 1,000 months. Imagine you have to, you don't stop in the morning. You continue to glorify until the next day sunset. How would that feel like? Imagine that. And it feels difficult. It feels difficult. That's something I was trying to figure out, that why it feels difficult. Why, when God says it, if it says, maybe God says the whole month you worship, then it will be more than 1,000 months. How do we take it? Do we get, oh my God, this is this blessing that got only one night? So there's two way to look at the picture. If I tell my son, you can only play game for 1 hour versus 8 hours, which one will he pick? He will say definitely that 8 hours. I want 8 hours. Why 8 hours? Because he enjoys that. If I said you only play 1 hour, and I will assume you played for the whole day, will be happy? No. He said no. I want to play whole day. You know, it's that thing. I mean, I've been like trying to think about it. That thing we are missing, where God says in Surah 21 about the angels, and I'm paraphrasing, that they glorify God day and night without tiring. What does that mean? It is not a magic. It is not a fairy tale. It's the reality. This exactly can happen. This exactly that we, if God would have told us only the night, 27th night, you glorify, and if we see the other side, we would react like my son. We say, no, God, we want to stay up every night. Why miss it? Because we lack that thing, and we can. It's possible. It's possible. God is telling us many places in the Quran that we can understand this phenomena. That what does it mean to be glorifying God? Not everybody likes to play game. That the glorification of God it's not a burden. It's actually a gift, a blessing, a joy. God doesn't want us to be suffering. God doesn't give us to do hard thing. It's actually a joy that we need to unlock. Other thing that I want to mention is that imagine that what happened that night. Since 1400 years ago up to now until the day of judgment, every year that thing is happening. And in lunar year, it's more than the solar. We'll have more night of destinies until the day of judgment. And before Quran, think about it, it didn't exist. There was no night of destiny before that. We are blessed after the Quran came to earth. This blessing happened. And one may ask that, that this night is so blessed that this must be, what happened this night that God increased the level to this, the more than 1,000 months? What is the reason behind it? We got a gift from God, a heavenly gift. We didn't deserve it. Absolutely, we didn't. We didn't even deserve to come to this earth to give us a second chance. This Quran, when came to earth, God not only the coming down to earth, God made that night special. It's like some president is coming and you put red carpet and flowers and banners and people are standing up at the line. Who is coming? There's so and so president is coming, or your favorite team won the game and they're coming and you celebrate them. So this is a kind of celebration for that present, the Quran, the messenger of God that came to earth, and we have it. So think about it. If the night holds that much value, What about the Quran? What about the actual thing, that person, the messenger? How much value does this have? And God describes that in two places, that the Quran, the 7 oceans, if you turn into ink, it will run out, but God's word will not run out. This is the awesome power of the Quran, and we have it. We have it 24/7. We have access to it. We can read it. We can ponder on it. Think about it and all that stuff. Another interesting thing that I noticed is that Night of Destiny, if you really do the math, it's kind of like you work the night shift, and you suppose you make $200 a night. And I did a rough math. I could be off, or maybe way off. That if your boss tells you, if you come this night, I'll pay you. If you 200 more than 1,000, it's like he's telling you, I'm going to pay you $18 million minimum. You can't come tonight. 18. If you do multiply the night into 1,000 months and then all that rough math, then I will at least give you $18 million. Imagine how excited would you be. Even if you say come whole month, just work this month, I'll give you $18 million. That would even still be an awesome deal. Imagine that, and so these things are possible. These things are very much possible, that we enjoy in glorifying God. It's not that we're sitting there and we feel tired and feel like we have to. We are excited about it. We're happy about it. And I'm not saying that we're not, but just a reminder and all that thing, that we look forward to it, definitely, and we celebrate it. We have food. We go around, we talk to each other, and we glorify over and over and over. And mashallah, we don't have this thing in our mind that we are accumulating piles of $18 million in this night. We don't have that material mind. We are enjoying it, basically. We have some understanding in it and bring it to the level where we really enjoy. Because see, God says that absolutely heart rejoice when remembering God and God. And God says that. It's not somebody, the shopkeeper say that, or the security guard say that, or even president says that. It's the creators of the heaven and earth, the initiator of the heavens and earth, say that absolutely your heart will rejoice. So this is where we understand, when the angels are glorifying God, that's when we understand there is something to unlock. So the more we try to understand and to do that, one thing is very, very important, and they all link together. Night of Destiny, the messenger came that night, Quran, and absolutely heart rejoice when remembering God. Then back to square one, Quran. It starts with Quran. It starts with Quran. Think about it. If you follow, hold on to the Quran, every single commandment as we can, even if you don't like it, even it's somebody makes us angry and our ego is striking and all that stuff, God gives us tools. Imagine in the Quran, that verse keep repeating, 23, 97, 95, seek refuge in God. Why? It is so critical. It is so critical that to the point God is saying that if you are in a jungle and a lion is chasing you, this verse is like not only you telling God to take the lion away from me, seek refuge. You are not in the same situation anymore. Otherwise it would be just if the verse would say that take the Satan out of me, you're still in the hell, that environment. You are seeking refuge in God. So it's in literal, this worldly words would be, take the lion away and bring me into palace in a security. So not only you're out of the danger, you're out of that environment, you're in the peace and security of God. So this it does actually more than 2-3 things. If you really think about the verse, that God says that. So tools are there, and so again, it's trying to make the connection, triangle, maybe more connection, that messenger, Night of Destiny, absolutely heart rejoicing, remembering God. How it starts from that messenger. If we really try to force ourselves, because this is the awesome deal. I know sometimes we have things like you're tempted to do something, and you maybe think that but God's not gonna like it. How much joy I'm gonna get out of this little temptation, versus if I obey God. I know it's hard right now, but the result is far more. It's out of this world. I mean, you're gonna get the joy that is out of this world. So focusing on one thing, like when we read Quran, we mashallah read the Quran in Ramadan, we read over and over. When you come, they did a study that only 3% of the Quran holds the commandment. 97% is the stories. It was not a submission study, but pretty much they're gonna be this, right? 97% is the story, the messengers, examples, and other stuff. Only 3% of the Quran holds the commandment. And he was a white guy who was talking about the Quran, and he said, I cannot understand. This is an awesome book. People run away from Quran, but it's only 3% of the Quran is holding the commandments. Praise God. So let's inshallah stop here and ask God for forgiveness. Okay. Alhamdulillah, wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, wahdahu la sharika lah. Praise be to God. There is no God but one God, the absolute one, and He has no partners in His kingdom. When we were doing the Quran study, the Night of Destiny, there was a slide on the zikr from Ashraf Khalifa, and I don't know if you catch it. I'll read that. He says, we would commemorate God because we appreciate His greatness and because we love God. This is the reason we are commemorating, mashallah. We're not after the material things that came with it. Yes, that's a gift, but our focus is because we love God and we appreciate His gift. That's a very powerful statement that he made. Very powerful. That because we appreciate His greatness. Quran is full of this amazing messenger, is full of information, the greatness of God. There's so many powerful verses in the Quran. If you really meditate, that's why the meditation is so powerful. To just pick a verse and go deep dive into it and think about what is God is actually saying, and you will see your mind open up, and you see the reality starts to kick in. I can never understand how can 7 oceans ink that is just out of this world. We cannot even finish if you gather all the knowledge from this world, psychology, math, whatever knowledge we have, search all the libraries from the beginning to the end, and compile all that knowledge in one place, and we're gonna start writing. You can even finish up a swimming pool, that much ink, and you have nothing else to write. What are we gonna do? This tiny cassette in the printer, it can write so many pages. We used to have a fountain pen, and this little pot will just never finish, and we keep writing papers and papers and papers. And when we went back home, and so I can never understand that. I can never. A lake, a river, ocean. So greatness of God. This is where you sit down and meditate on God, how awesome God is. Then you start to build a connection with God. Then loving God. That's the reason. This is, if we really understand, if we focus on this, then we start to enjoy glorifying God. We look forward for it. Sometimes you're even standing in the line in the office or in the DMV or whatever. You say, I got 5 minutes. I can, I have nothing to do. They say you gotta wait 10 minutes, so you are happy. I'm gonna glorify God because you enjoy it. It's like taking out your phone. I have 10 minutes, or I can play that game. But your game is glorifying God. You understand? Then he goes on to say, we would do it for nothing. Think about it. We would do it for nothing. If God says this is the night of destiny, the Quran came, and that's it. It's equal to whatever glorification. That's what His intentions are. We will do it for nothing. We will just do it. Even God doesn't give us the extra credit that more than 1,000 months. We will still do it. It just happens that it's God's law in 23 places in the Quran that it says that we will pay for your commemorating with health, wealth, and perfect happiness. So He's saying that we will do it for nothing, but it's God's law that God will give us. So our focus is on two things that he mentions here: greatness of God and loving God. This is the main reason. If somebody were to come to ask you, hey, why are you glorifying God? Your answer should be because we love God and we appreciate his greatness. These are the two reasons. I say, but God gives you all this stuff. I say, yeah, these are part of it, but our focus is to appreciate, because appreciate what the greatness, what he has given us, all these things. Our focus, it changes the mindset of the human being. It brings us out of the needy things to something that really valuable. That example that I remember I shared before, that if my father is very rich and he said, come this night and I'll every year to come on my birthday, I'll give you one house every time. I'll give to you. And that night I prepare, and then he says, come visit me other nights too. And I never show up. But what he's telling me about myself. So we have talked about just making some night glorification and thing, and without even there's no extra credit. But we should put it in our routine, that sometime just 1 hour, an hour and a half, because Quran has so many verses about meditation. So many verses that God doesn't say that to stay awake day of night of destiny, but God say to meditate throughout the year, 1/3, more than that, or whatever you can possibly think. Even Messenger of the Covenant even talked about that. You can start from sunset to Isha, and then as soon the dawn hits until the daylight. So that covers a big part. So you can glorify God in those times. Meditation is not just doing zikr. Meditation is paying attention, focusing. We focus on worldly things so much. What I'm gonna eat, what I'm gonna wear, what people gonna think about me, what that job. So many things occupy our mind. This CPU overhead is overwhelmed with information. Let's just reboot once in a while, and just like you do the computer, and focus on God. Take everything out, and then thinking about God only God, and just pick something. Love, thanking, even to the point thinking about hell, heaven, so many other things to think about. And on and on and on. Just focus on something and just take some time out and think. I'm going to share some my personal experience, and see, all good thing happens to God. It's not something that you do something good. And actually I stumble upon it. How that I've been 10-12 years been working nights, and it happens to be I'm driving and I'm listening to Quran and doing just one thing led to another. So, and I have seen a lot of studies on, I researched on it, what is meditation. And these people are not submitters, not even Muslims, but they are gaining so much benefit out of meditation, that it's just peaceful, it's out of world experience. But as a submitter, think about it. What can you unlock? What things can you unlock? And all you need is one thing to unlock that can hook you on to the hereafter, like meditating on the heaven. So heaven, you meditate what God tells us in the Quran. Sooner or later, how they say practice makes it perfect. Sooner or later, you're gonna stumble upon something about the hereafter. If you have never tasted sugar, and I have this special dessert from Hawaii, some macadamia, some very delicious. How can I explain to you the taste when you never even have ever tasted basic sugar? So heaven, God says, it's incredibly beautiful. You can never imagine. But if we meditate long enough, we may unlock or stumble upon something. Now pay attention to this very, very carefully. Upon something that does not exist in this world. Does not exist. And of course you meditate, you stumble upon something that you cannot even explain, but it exists in the hereafter. What is going to do to you? It's going to have you hooked on to that. Because whatever you do, you cannot get it here. The only way you can get it is in the heaven. And what you do, you start working for that. You become detached to this world. When you're like, Jacob, they play with the toys. At some age, we used to play with these toys. I picked up a little car I found, and then I was thinking, at one point in my life, I didn't even have that car, and I wish the little toy car, But now I grew up. This thing doesn't mean anything to me. So it's part of growing up, spiritually, that You know, you become attached more to the hereafter. When you start unlocking things that God talks about in the Quran and you meditate, the picture becomes more and more visible. At that point, you have no, you know, you have become a passenger in a train. You don't care where you sit down. You know, it's only 2, 3 stops. I'm going to get off. No problem. You know, one day I was riding a train and it was a long journey from Karachi to Faisalabad. And somebody took my spot. And this guy was like so mad. You know what I thought, mashallah? So, well, you know, that's fine. It's just one journey. I can stand up. Don't worry. No problem. I don't want to fight with you, you know. It's just so if you miss, God says you should never grieve over whatever you miss in this world, because whatever you miss in this world is nothing, basically. There's nothing to be grieved about in this world. This is halfway hell. So all these lessons are from the Quran, mashallah, you know. May God forgive me if I made a mistake, but this is the truth, the absolute truth. Another example I'll give you, and then inshallah I'll stop here, is, for example, you know, in my stories like that, if somebody lives in a very poor part of the country where there's violence, crimes, hunger, you know, jobless situation, and this person finds about a first world country that he can move over there, and he sees some pictures of that place, what he's going to do, and there's a way he can get there. There's a pathway he can go through. Do you think he's going to be attached to this? He has to stay there until he gets ready to go to the first world country? He said, I got to get this courses done, I got to get this perfection, and if I go to apply, I will get the visa and I'll get out of there. Because he know whatever he does, he cannot get it in that environment. The only way he get is get out. So this way to detach ourselves from this world and attach more to the hereafter, and then after that, nothing matters. You know, this is why meditation is extremely powerful. Its mind is, you know, mind over matter. We think about mind is nothing, you know, matter is everything, but it's the other way around. Mind is extremely powerful, and I'll encourage you to research YouTube and read on it. It will literally give you a virtual reality, inshallah. And may God guide us and keep us on the right path.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah.
Attention to pray. Salatul Jummah, Allahu Akbar.
Allahu Akbar.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الرحمن الرحيم. مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم. سبحان ربي العظيم. سبحان ربي العظيم. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم. سبحان ربي العظيم. سبحان ربي العظيم. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم. سبحان ربي العظيم. سبحان ربي العظيم. الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له.